Welcome back to another episode of the Live Better podcast by Centric Federal Credit Union. I'm your host and Centric's social media and marketing specialist, Emma Baines. I'm so excited that you're here today. Every month we post a new episode where I'm joined by a guest to chat about all things living better and finances. Subscribe today so you never miss an episode. Today we are joined by Kelly Green, who is the SVP of Marketing and Member Engagement here at Centric, to chat about some key differences between a credit union and a bank. Thank you for joining us today, Kelly. So before we get started, will you tell us and our listeners just a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Centric?
Yeah, thanks so much, Emma, for having me. This is a great opportunity, I feel like, for us just to share what's on our hearts and minds and really lean into the purpose of Centric. This podcast is near and dear to my heart. So If we have regular listeners, I know you've heard a lot from my own personal experience through working here at Centric, but also about my family. And I will tell you that Centric has impacted my family over the last 10 years by me serving here at the credit union. But from a financial standpoint, it's really helped me understand what trajectory do I want to, are our finances really heading? And the tools here at Centric has helped really me and my family, especially my husband and I, to determine, what are our financial goals? And the products and services that we have here at the credit union have really helped us identify and help us achieve the goals. Our savings dividends and our earnings that we receive not only just add to our savings that we have, but it's encouraging and empowering to stick to our budget, stick to our goals. And I guess that's a great way to talk about, what's important to me. And I'm a mother of two little girls. My husband and I have been married for over 12 years now. And our youngest is 10, no, that's not right. My oldest is 10 and my youngest is 9. They're like 10 going on 20 and 9 going on 18. I'm sure you can relate.
Yes.
But what's really interesting about that is, over the last few years, being intentional with everything that we do is really important. Being present while I'm here working in a professional setting, but also being intentional with my family is something that's incredibly important to me, which has led us to our different activities. We're big time outdoorsy folks. We're big campers. We love to travel. And we too, I know you're familiar with all things social, and we really have leaned into telling our story for other families through a YouTube channel. And that's something that's really important to us. And part of that, within our journey is would not have been possible without really identifying how we can make that possible through our own decisions that we make each and every day with our finances. And I know a lot of things we'll be talking about today are primarily the difference between a credit union and a bank. And I've actually worked at both. My experience here at the credit union, like I said, has been a little over 10 years. But overall in finance and community banking is right at knocking on 16 years. And one of the things that I will tell you that's significantly different is that here at our credit union at Centric, our members are known by their name. They're known by their goals. Mm-hmm. What are they wanting to achieve for themselves, but also what are they wanting to achieve for their family? And we lean into that. What is our mission here at the credit union? It's genuinely to help our members live better. With a bank, their board of directors, their shareholders, they're the ones that really reap the benefits. At a credit union, our members are the ones that reap the benefits, mm-hmm. reap the dividends. They reap the lower loan rates and the opportunities for loans that they may not have ever received at other financial institutions. Our board of directors are volunteer. They're not paid. So that means they volunteer their time to oversee the well-being for our members. And that's who our owners are. We're not answering to just say 10 or 12 shareholders. We're answering to, nearly 40,000 members who are our shareholders. Mm-hmm. So each and everything that we do, whether it's a new digital touch point for members to engage with us virtually, or whether it's, a new location that we may begin to build or a new city that we want to embark upon, we still think of the personal touch and how we can impact members for the better. And if it doesn't line in and really line up to what our mission is to help our members live better, then it's probably not the best decision for us. And being able to be a part of that decision making and just keeping our members first and foremost is probably the driver of why I'm still here. Yeah.
That's really good to hear. And, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this today is because if you type in credit union in the search on YouTube, the very first thing that comes up, the most searched topic about a credit union on YouTube is credit union versus bank. Mm-hmm. And people just don't know. No. Adults don't know. Teenagers don't know. They know there's a difference. They don't know what it is. And so I just think it's really important for our listeners to know, hey, this is what we do. This is how we're different. This is how we're set apart. And so I really am glad that we're talking about this today. So one question that I have for you is there anything that a bank can do that a credit union cannot do?
Absolutely not. And if you ask that question the opposite way, is there anything a credit union can do that a bank cannot? There are differences primarily when you're thinking of, we do commercial lending. But one of the neat things about us, and you think about too, people say, oh, well, you're just a credit union. You only serve a certain population or in a certain area. Well, we as Centric are a part of a shared branching, which is a cooperative network that allows us and our members to bank anywhere they want to through a shared branching partner. So you think about big, huge mega banks like Bank of America and Chase, who have, 4,000 and 5,000 retail locations. Because we're a part of our cooperative shared branching network, we have access. We as members have access to over 5,000 locations and over 40,000 ATMs that are right there at our fingertips, and when you are working with and you're using your Live Better accounts, any ATM is really your ATM when you qualify. So something to genuinely think about. I will ask our listeners to think about it like this. When was the last time your bank gave you a chance to vote on fees or the board of directors that serve you or make decisions on your behalf? They don't, right?
That's right.
Maybe through a survey, through their expectations of their service and things of that nature, or what products and services maybe that you're inquiring about. But I don't think that your bank is really asking questions about how do you feel about these fees that you're being charged. Mm-hmm. But at a credit union, we have an annual meeting that each and every shareholder, and you as our member, you're a shareholder. You earn a vote at the credit union. And you're invited to our annual meeting that happens once a year. It's usually held within the first 8 to 10 days within the month of March. And you have the opportunity to vote on your board of directors. You have a say if there's things that you want to bring up. You can certainly do that. These are neat things that people don't realize, that you're empowered to make the changes that you want to see as a member. And at a bank, you just genuinely don't have that decision, We're here at Centric, we talk through about relationship lending and relationship banking. And you'll hear people talk about a lot of times, it's like, oh, you're known here as a name, not a number. We don't care about your amount of deposits and so forth. I will say this, here at our credit union, you will see the most diverse population, which we're so incredibly proud of. The people here, our employees that we serve, we come from all different backgrounds. And I think that is something that is incredibly reflective of who we are and who we wish to be. Many of us have been faced with our own financial hardships, and we too have used the products and services, and included with that is financial counseling, to overhaul our finances. We've lived through those experiences, and we'll tell you about it. And so if anything, when you come in and visit with us, you will 9 times out of 10 find someone who has experienced a hardship that you are currently facing or that you've overcome. And we like to highlight your story, and talk about things that you've overcome. And if we've assisted you in that matter, we want to hear about it. We here want to celebrate those kind of things. So I would just ask our listeners to ask, what has your bank really done for you lately? Are they paying you? I don't know. That's a good question. And is there ever a time where you've asked if, hey, are there ways that we can negotiate a rate? My credit score's improving. How does that impact my loan? I don't think your bank's calling you and asking you if they can save you money, right? Because that impacts their pockets.
Yeah.
But those are things that we genuinely try to do when members are, we notice that their credit score is improving and they have a loan with us. There's opportunities in which we can save them money throughout the month and overall loan.
That's good. That's good stuff. Like I said, that a lot of people don't know. And so I'm glad that you touched on all that, because I really want our listeners to see the clear difference between being a member here at Centric and being a customer at the bank, because those two terms basically define, the major differences between the two. Here, you have the privilege of having a say, you have a vote, you have a seat at the table, you have complete control over, the things that you do here, and then, not quite so much at a bank. So I think that's really important, that our listeners understand that. Another thing I wanted to mention is, do you think that credit unions tend to be a little more community focused and community based than banks do?
In our region, I will have to say this, as far as being focused in the community, our community banks and credit unions alike do a really great job of supporting local entities, organizations, and schools. So one thing I would say, you might necessarily see in a different geographical area where you may see there's a big difference between how the credit unions are serving the community over a mega bank. One of the things that I'm always kind of challenged with whenever I think of how are ways in which we might be able to impact the community in a different way. I won't say that one does it greater or less than the other, but what I will say is that Centric is different. We have kind of, if you will, over the last maybe decade, we've kind of shifted our focus to more becoming more financially aware of the circumstances that our community is really faced with. We have taken information from United Way and just overall national data from census and so forth to help us understand the number of folks that are impacted by poverty, those who are one emergency away from poverty, and what can we do about that as a financial institution. And it is genuinely through partnerships with local organizations, really schools, universities, and local employers to offer financial education. And we do that right at the workplace, right at the school. You can do a financial deep dive through your credit report, open an account, apply for a loan, all of those things right, on site there. You don't have to come to one of our locations or do it online. You can meet with us face to face at your institution or even at your employer. And I would say I won't say that we do things better or community banks do things better than us, but I think we're different in the fact that we are incredibly specific in how we serve the community. It's incumbent upon us to serve our members as well as our community, and anything that we know that can help empower them, really provide hope to their economic situation, it's incumbent upon us to do that. And we take that as a real responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that a lot. And I've seen that just since in the short time that I've been here, how completely immersed in the community that Centric is, and how that's something me personally I haven't really seen before. Yeah. And I moved here from a different community a few months ago, and that's something that I had not seen before coming here. And so it's been really interesting to me to get to see, okay, this is a really large group of people who care about the community that they're living in and are trying to help people thrive here. And it makes a difference, when people know that their financial institution believes in them and wants to see them come up and do better and do well for themselves. I mean, it makes a big difference in the community.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between the FDIC and the NCUA? Because I think to a lot of people, those are just letters. So what exactly does that mean?
Yeah. So basically, and this is a great question. And it's something that I kind of want to take in regards to like digital payments platforms and really talking about that. Is your money genuinely safe? So we are stating that through the insurances that we're saying that we are insured through the National Credit Union Administration. That is similar to FDIC that governs banks. We are a highly regulated institution, just like your, any community bank or mega bank. One thing I will say, and this is something people genuinely don't realize, but when you think about your PayPal and you think about Venmo and your Cash App, even your Starbucks app that you've uploaded funds to, what is happening? What would happen if someone were to tap into that and say, your information has been shared and now your money's gone? What's going to happen? Your funds are not secured.
That's right.
We have, to our membership, it's a $250,000 insured amount that we provide to them through our, the relationship we have through the NCUA. And I think it is incredibly important that we ask those questions. Yes, are those payments platforms very easy to use? Sure they are. But I would ask, does your financial institution offer some of their own? We're a part of Zelle. We can move money around to individual, to entity very easily through that payments platform. And one of the things that you have with that is there are things like disputes when, say, maybe there's fraud that occurs through those transactions. Who are you going to call when you've got to transact and discuss a fraudulent transaction through Venmo, the Cash App, and, you talk about Green Dot. You have all these different payments platforms. I think it's important for us to ask the question, how is the relationship with those digital platforms? How is that impacting me for future buying power? And a lot of, I would say your Gen Y, your Gen Z, the younger demographic sees these payments platform as an opportunity to exchange funds really quickly. Parents can upload money to them very easily and they can transact at different institutions or pay someone else, for whether it's mowing their grass or, haircuts, whatever it might be. But it's really, I hope everyone understands the severity and understanding that if that money is gone, you're not going to be able just to call up an institution like you would at Centric and say, hey, here's what has occurred. I did not complete this transaction. At Centric, you've got someone fighting for you. Who are you going to call? You may get involved in a chat with someone online, and who is that person? What benefit do they have to really, recuperate those funds back to you, recoup those funds to you? They don't have a vested interest, and it's just a quick little payments platform. But I would encourage us to think about, ask yourself the question, if you're buying a brand or you're, buying from a location or you're using certain payments platforms, who are they supporting? Who owns them? What is their overall mindset? What are their values? What do they stand for? And if those are things that you don't believe in and things that you don't want to support or things that you're like, no one's being transparent with me about it there, ask the question. We need to become more aware of, where things are coming from, where, how is this impacting, the overall greater good. I think it's important for us to genuinely ask those questions. But when you really get down to, I would be concerned over how the funds are really protected through those digital payments platforms. That's a huge question to ask when we pay you just to have an account here and use your account. In some cases, we're paying, you're not at risk of losing your funds with that. Right. And by being a member here at Centric, we're, a lot of us are members of a lot of things, from it's being a Sam's Club member, Amazon Prime. I mean, you think of all of these different, different brands and so forth that you might have a relationship with, but we're not increasing our fees for you to be a member here with us. There's no annual fee to participate. There is a one-time, lifetime fee that you pay. And there's no more. You're a member, and
Right.
that's it. And so those are just things that when you can't really compare. You can't say that credit unions and community banks are apples to apples, because we're really not.
Mm-hmm.
The way in which that we serve people, we look for ways that we can serve them. And if we're unable to complete, say, a loan transaction, or maybe we have to put a deposit on hold or something along those lines, we want to look and dive a little bit further without just saying no to you, or, hey, we can't provide access to this. Let's talk about why. Are there some things we can do to figure out how we can make this possible? And I think everyone wants to have a little bit of hope and knowing what they can do next. So I'm a huge believer of the credit union. Like I said, I've been in finance right at 16 years. 10 of those years have been spent here at Centric. And there's no other choice, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you. We've shared a lot of important information on this episode. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up? Did I miss anything?
Oh, I think you covered it all, Emma. But I appreciate, though, that you're sharing the difference of, regions and locations from where you've currently lived or spent some time. And it's important to note, who you see as the credit unions or financial institutions, who's supporting your kiddos, baseball, softball, football league, who's really involved in that. But more so, who's providing that micro loan to a, single mom who's starting her business for the first time.
Right.
And that is something we pride ourselves on. We've got some really neat, interesting things that we'll be talking about to just highlight our business owners. And I hope that everybody will stay tuned for that as we continue to talk through it. But there's a lot of things worth celebrating. And if you ask them who's helped provide that first loan for maybe their vehicle, very first vehicle, that they've ever had, or the first home that they were bringing their child home to, you think about those things. And a lot of times you'll hear them say, Centric made it possible. But more so than that, they have a name to their banker, if you will. They have a name to that person. Many times we hear Kathleen, Jennifer, Jolene, Laura. These people have made it possible for their families to take it to the very next step. And that's a story worth telling.
It is. And then when these people come into the centers, that they ask specifically by name for the person that way. And I mean, that's a huge deal. That just doesn't happen everywhere.
That's right.
And I think that is just wonderful.
Yes, I agree. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I think our listeners are really going to learn a lot from this episode.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be a guest here, and I just appreciate all that you guys are continuing to do through this podcast.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here today. I hope all of our listeners were able to learn about the differences between a credit union and a bank. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and tune back in next month for another episode of the Live Better podcast by Centric Federal Credit Union. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to ensure you never miss out on helpful tips. Like us on Facebook at Centric Federal Credit Union, and find us at MyCentric on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find more information about today's topic, our monthly blog, and more at mycentric.org. Centric is federally insured by the NCUA.